Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. I am Jeanne Gallagher, and I'm talking with Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hey, Jeanne.
And we are making it through this month's topic, Understanding Menopause and Hormones. What's this segment about today?
Today's segment is about the role progesterone has in menopause. And, we're talking about how the outside makes the inside better. This is a little bit of how the
Inside makes everybody better.
Right. If we know what's going on in the inside, we can make the outside better.
And the outside being everybody that we're in contact with.
Bingo. Especially anyone you live with. So the challenge that we have when it comes to menopause, a couple things. One, we all go through it very differently. I'm 53 years old. I've been going through perimenopause now. I'm 2 years, almost 2 years postmenopausal. My sister's 50. She's got nothing. She has no problems. Like well, that's not completely true. She's just now starting to notice some menopausal symptoms, which she didn't realize until recently were actually menopausal symptoms. And
like what?
She started to notice the menobelly. I mentioned that in our last segment. That kind of just abdominal fat that just it's not because you're not eating healthy. It's not you're eating too much or you're not exercising enough. It's just that's where weight gain is. That's where you're noticing it. Weight gain in general can also happen during this time. And this is a major challenge with progesterone. Again, when you have too much or too little of something, there's a chain reaction with the rest of your hormones. Estrogen and progesterone go together. They're kissing cousins. They really do belong together. And they need to be not completely balanced. Nothing is ever completely balanced. But you certainly don't want to have one that much higher than the other, because there's that major that major swing that people, right. And with that, people then experience, yes, you might experience some mood swings, but really this is where people start to notice that with progesterone, some of the effects are, like I said, waking, but depression, not just mood swings, but actual clinical depression. And again, it's a chemical imbalance. Clinical depression is a chemical imbalance. So if you have other chemicals, hormones in your body that are out of whack, everything kind of slowly down the chain starts to get a little out of whack as well. Some of the other things to notice if you if you have low progesterone, you'll start to notice decreased libido. That one really sucks. If you have a gallbladder issues, who knew? One that I noticed, or I didn't personally notice, but I have a friend when I was in high school who had really severe, heavy menstrual cycles. And we were maybe in juniors and seniors in high school. And this was something that was a problem for her for many, many years. And I kept thinking to myself, this can't be normal. But it was normal for her, right? So she thought, well, after she got married and tried to have a baby, that's when they found out that her progesterone level was so low that that was actually causing the problem. And so once they got her hormones balanced for a woman and, in her early 20s who was trying to have a child, she had 2 babies.
Wow.
So these are things that we don't understand. One, because we don't talk about it. Our doctors really don't know a lot about it. Our gynecologists, they're kind of there for the easy stuff. This is a lot more complicated because everybody is different. Mood swings or mood regulation. When it comes to your progesterone actually has a calming effect on your brain. So it enhances mood. If there's not enough of it, it does the opposite, right? Think about when you had your menstrual cycle. There was a time around that, like you felt good, you kind of felt bad, your mood could change. During pregnancy, moods changed, right? They weren't so up and down as they can be with menopause, but you could always tell that there was something going on, right? With progesterone being low, another challenge is progesterone actually is a natural sedative, basically, so promotes better sleep. If you don't have the progesterone, you don't have that natural effect anymore. And so women that are starting to go through menopause, perimenopause, and menopause, that has that low progesterone, they're noticing they're not sleeping through the night. They rarely have a night's sleep where, it's uninterrupted. Their REM sleep cycles. And so what happens is they wake up and they're tired. They haven't slept through the night, and maybe they just, sometimes, wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't get back to sleep for no reason other than your progesterone level is low. And what happens then when you're tired and you wake up tired, you tend to be in a less than happy mood, let's just say. So now, with progesterone being low, we're already struggling with possible mood swings, and now lack of sleep is making that worse. So one of the things I think is really important to mention is, if you're starting to notice that your mood changes are really significant, this is time to start to find out, what your hormones are doing. At least start to do a little bit of research. And another piece where progesterone comes in is really important, and it's something that I didn't know until recently. And this is that progesterone acts to basically, it helps to thin the uterine lining, which prevents endometrial cancer. So high estrogen, thick lining, low progesterone or lower progesterone. Higher estrogen is going to prevent that lining from getting too thick. With high estrogen would be thick. The progesterone helps to again even that out. Like I said before, they're kind of kissing cousins. They go together.
Yeah, and in balancing it, and the balancing part you were talking about too is, it's not if you're 50 or 60 years old, you're not trying to return your hormones back to when you were 20. You're trying to find that balance that's age appropriate.
Right, that's appropriate for you, and that's true. We're trying to get those hormones to a place where you're not suffering from symptoms. If you're 53 like me, you're gonna have some kind of symptom, but you don't have to live with them. You can actually find a way, whether it's naturally or going on HRT, to balance those to a point where you don't have symptoms anymore.
And the important thing is just to be your own advocate.
Absolutely.
And find somebody. If you're not getting the right answers, it's frustrating, but you have to really find that person that understands how your body works and can provide you with the feedback and information that you need.
Absolutely. You always have to be your own advocate. You know your body best. So we will talk about that a little bit more in another segment. So I'm excited to expand on that.
And if you have more questions, call Denise. Hello, everyone. This is Jeanne Gallagher, Discover Rising Tides, and I want to just take a moment to talk about my friend, Denise Stegall. I am honored to call her as a friend, and I'm so grateful that she gives us her insight during our shows, each show, and talks about healthy living, eating real food. You hear Denise say, eat real food a lot. Well, she means it, and she knows what she's talking about. She is an amazing healthy living coach, curator at Living Healthy List. And if you ever have any questions about what is real food, why does it matter? How does that apply to me? How do I change? What do I need to do? How do I even create a healthy living shopping list? Make sure that you call her. She is your healthy living coach. And you can find her at healthylivinglist.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. And I'm Jeanne Gallagher. And welcome to Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hey, Jeanne. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
As everyone knows, Denise is the longevity specialist at Living Healthy List. And this month, this is a heavy month. This month, we're talking about understanding menopause and hormones. So much to talk about.
Yes. So what I'd like to really focus on today specifically, menopause, we could be talking about this. I mean, there are full podcasts and books, and we could talk about menopause forever, and hormones. But today I want to focus a little bit more on navigating like that roller coaster, that estrogen roller coaster, because it has an impact. And in each one of our hormones, has a different impact. I mean, obviously they all work together. You know, we're always kind of looking for, we always have this phrase that we talk about as hormone balance. Like our hormones are ever completely balanced. They're not, but we want them balanced enough that we are not dealing with menopausal symptoms. So speaking of menopausal symptoms, right? So that's kind of where we all start. Back in the day when I was growing up, I thought menopause was something that happened to you when you were 55 years old, and then you were done. You have menopause, and then that's it. None of this perimenopause, like leading up to it, none of this postmenopause stuff that happens from that day forward. It really was never discussed in a way that was very helpful. Even when I think,
I don't think it was ever discussed. Never, helpful or not, there was never a conversation.
Right. I mean, think back. Did you have a conversation with your mom about it?
No.
I've kind of had a couple of conversations with my mother, but they were more like, well, I didn't experience that, or no, that never happened to me, or you should go talk to your doctor. When I was really looking for, advice from my mom, thinking, what did she experience? And I can understand this to a degree because her generation, it wasn't something they talk about. But here's the other thing that's important to note. Everybody goes through menopause differently. And I think that's part of the question. How do you talk to somebody about something that they're experiencing when you're experiencing something different or not experiencing anything at all? So that transition and the perimenopause thing, this was a new phrase for me a couple of years ago. I had never heard of perimenopause. I was 37 years old and I was dealing with hot flashes and mood swings. Like, I've always been pretty stable mood wise. When my husband said to me, something's going on with you, I knew very well that I needed to do something about it because I hadn't been feeling well, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. What was really bothering me? So I was 37, come to learn that a lot of women, or some women, can start perimenopause. And for the guys who are listening in, I apologize, but this is actually going to be really good for you to understand your spouses, your moms, your daughters come down the road, right? So perimenopause for some women starts very early in their 30s.
And I had never known that until you mentioned it.
I have a cousin who started having menopausal symptoms at 32.
Wow.
I was 37. And so when you think, at 32, that's still prime, baby time, right? Many of us are, many people nowadays are waiting a little longer to have kids. And so this is something that's really important for us to be talking about, because if at 32 or 33, you're just thinking, we're going to start to have a family, this may be a challenge. Was for me. So what's really happening here with the estrogen and progesterone, and we'll talk about progesterone in another episode, but this is where those mood swings start. Your metabolism starts to slow down. You get those hot flashes. Sorry, my words are not working with me today. You get hot flashes. And for me, the hot flashes, the night sweats were the worst. But then after that, I would say the mood swings. And they're not something you can just control. And I think that's a challenge that so many women, especially younger women, think, they're having mood problems. Is it depression? Is it anxiety? Could be. Could very well be perimenopause. So one of the challenges I think we have, we don't talk about it, or our mothers didn't talk about it, or our grandparents didn't talk about it, but neither do our doctors. I think for me, the biggest challenge was when I went to the first doctor at 37 and I was explaining what was going on, he said to me, at your age, it's just a phase, you'll be fine. That was really not a good answer for somebody who was struggling. But looking back, in his defense, he didn't know what else to tell me. He didn't have anything for me. So when it comes to education, we have to go out and find this education for ourselves. Now, for me, because I live at the Mayo Clinic world, I was going seeking traditional medicine. Now, I know for you, you followed a naturopathic physician for many years.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I have discussed this before. We had very different experiences.
Sure.
Which is what I alluded to before. Some women, piece of cake. My sister, I was just talking to my sister a few minutes ago, and she just turned 50. And she's like, so should I be taking something? I asked her, I said, do you have any symptoms? She said, the only thing that she's noticing is the menopause. And that is a real thing. When your hormones are fluctuating so much, that's usually the first place women notice it. Whether it's hot flashes or whatever, most of us notice that menobelly first, right?
I've never heard of that term before. Menobelly.
Menobelly. It's a real thing. You can Google it. But it's true. It's where all of a sudden we start to, hold fat in our abdomen, our lower abdomen, where we may not have ever held weight before. And it has nothing to do with how much you're exercising and how much you're eating. I'm really big on counting my calories. I don't recommend that to everyone, but I do this for me as a mm-hmm. longevity specialist. It's something that I think is important for me to understand. So I do that. So when I started to notice this, I thought, I haven't changed my diet. I haven't exercised more or less. So what's going on? And it really was, I was really starting to notice at that point, aside from the hot flashes, that's when I physically started to notice something very different. Mm-hmm. That was going on. So what else? So what does estrogen do for us? Obviously, if you're in that phase of life where you are looking to have a child, you need to have that estrogen. You need to have high estrogen in order to take a pregnancy to term. Most of us here listening are beyond that. So we may have children or children at that phase, right? So as that drops, though, some of the things that occur that most of us we don't necessarily recognize at first, because it's not necessarily, we don't feel bad or feel different, but we start to notice sex is kind of painful, kind of dry down there. These are symptoms that, come with that lack of estrogen. And most people don't even think about it. It's just, we're getting older. That's always been the explanation. Well, you're 50 now, or 50 plus. And so that's always been the answer that the doctors have. Well, and yeah, there's over-the-counter stuff that they tell you to try, but it's not actually helping. It may help some of the symptom, but it's not actually helping the problem. It's just kind of masking it, which is very often what we do. If we have a pain, we take a medication to make the pain go away, as opposed to finding out, is the pain actually a problem? Like with my wrist, it was bothering me. Well, yeah, I realized that I broke a bone in my hand, but I had been taking Tylenol for 2 days because it was just swollen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, and like I said, gynecologists, they're called OBGYNs, right? They're obstetricians and gynecologists. They're obstetricians first. So they're great when you want to have a baby, when you're in that age. When you're in your 40s, they're kind of okay. When you get to this phase, they don't know what to talk to you about. They don't understand. If it's a woman, you may have a little bit of an interesting conversation, but they only have one thing to recommend to you, and it's HRT, hormone replacement therapy, which is synthetic. And through the years, we've known that there are problems with that. In the past, we know that it could increases some cancer risk. Mm-hmm. So is that an option? Is that a conversation you have with your doctor? Sometimes. But again, is it actually fixing the problem or helping you with the problem? Because again, with the drop of estrogen, we want to find a way to raise that naturally. not to the point where we were when we were in our 20s, but just to the point where we're not feeling symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things, menopausal symptoms, you know, the major problems that we feel when we're in menopause. Estrogen also protects against osteoporosis, and many people don't know that. I didn't know that. I have I have an aunt who lives in England. Well, my aunts live in England. She's a tiny lady. She's always been really thin and frail. She's a smoker, so that's part of it. But it was, you know, a pretty young age, she was diagnosed with osteopenia, which is the step before osteoporosis. Interesting thought, she went into early menopause. So that estrogen helps to maintain bone density. Basically, it helps with bone renewal. So, you know, as a kid, you know, if you're a kid, you fall and you break your bone, you know, it heals pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you get older, if you fall
Not
and
so
break
much.
a bone, not so much. You know, it takes a lot more time. And, you know, with that, with osteoporosis, you know, they want you to take, you know, make sure you're taking your calcium and your magnesium and maybe a supplement, you know, additional supplement. But if our estrogen was at a balancing level, we could potentially avoid that risk. Cardiovascular health. I mean, cardiovascular disease is on the rise. It's been on the rise along with obesity for as long as I can remember. Truly, as long as I have been in the health and wellness field, which is, I don't know, 15 years. Menopause. Estrogen plays a protective role in your health because it makes your it makes your arteries more flexible, and it helps with, hold on, let me think this through right exactly. And favorable cholesterol levels. So your arteries are flexible, everything can kind of go through your arteries. So you're not getting that plaque that causes heart failure, congestive heart failure, all of those things. So with that decline, again, you don't have that protection. And it's so crucial for us to take steps. Again, we're talking menopause. Now I'm talking heart disease. It's all connected.
It's all connected, right?
I think so often we think, you know, we have this one problem, we have this one thing. No, we have this one body, and what's going on in this one body is all connected. And if one thing is out of balance, especially when it comes to our hormones, down the line, things are out of balance down the road as well.
And one of the challenges too, and we've talked about this many times, is because there's different pieces to this body puzzle, finding a medical person or the right, maybe medical people to have these conversations with, because it might be more than just one person. It's a challenge.
It is a challenge. You know, in the medical world, they really don't get a lot of education. I mean, your primary care doctor knows nothing about this. If you go to your primary care doctor with challenges, they're going to send you to somebody else. And I've actually spoken to a menopause and aging specialist back quite a few years ago now, who honestly wasn't very helpful either, because she looked at me and said, at my age, and I think at the time I was maybe 45, 47, she said to me, "You're not menopausal, so stop taking all that herbal crap that you're taking and just go, you know, just stay on birth control." This is the menopause and aging lady. I was, like I said, 45, 47. And that's all she had to offer me.
Yeah.
And that was really a hard pill to swallow, because I was going to a specialist for help. And she just was not ready to help me. That she didn't think I was in a place where I needed help. Now, interestingly, you know, being in the health and wellness world, I do know of other doctors who practice naturopathic medicine, all sorts of different types of alternative medicine. And I'd heard of something called the Dutch test. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in another segment. But with that test, they tested hormones that none of the doctors, my gynecologist or this menopause and aging specialist, they never recommended. So how would you know if I was perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal, if you didn't test? So that's another piece I think that's really important for us to understand is
I had never heard
doctors
of the
aren't.
Dutch test either until my daughter took one.
Mhm.
And luckily she was in contact with the right people that had that open information. So yeah.
It's interesting. I may actually, and I know I wanted to talk about this a little later, but noticed it. Oh, it's not going right at my fingertips. I'll get it for next time. I have my results, and it's pages of result.
Mhm.
So when it comes to, kind of to summarize, when it comes to menopause, when it comes to estrogen levels, your medical doctor is going to say they're not going to have a test for you. If you're lucky, they may refer you to a specialist. And I hope that specialist helps. But this is something that I believe, as we age, we need to take our health in our own hands and say to the doctor, we've done our research. This is what I think I need. And if your medical doctor's not the person to find somebody who can help you, and that's where these conversations come in. I'm always available to help somebody, to point somebody in a direction. I know a lot of people in the area, in the field, in that area.
What
So
are
if anybody,
what are the few things for people to look for? So the middle belly. So
menobelly,
mood swings.
mood swings, and just especially for women who never had mood swings before, you'll notice them. So mood swings, menobelly, the night sweats
Mhm.
and hot flashes. Those are really the first things that people will notice. And I think for most people, the menobelly is like, it is not the first one. It may be one of the later ones that
Well,
people that
those
they
are
notice.
good for people to say, "Oh, wait, I think I've had this." And then now at least go talk to somebody so you can get some more information on your own body.
Right. Especially when it comes to those mood swings. If you've never suffered from anxiety or depression, anything like that before, and this is new, more than likely it's because of the menopause or perimenopause. It's one of those symptoms due to the lack of estrogen.
Super helpful. And this is a complicated subject and to fit into a short amount of time. So if anybody has any questions and just wants to bounce some ideas or bounce some questions off, feel free to reach out to Denise. She's a wealth of information, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. And I'm Jeanne Gallagher, and we're talking with Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hey, hey.
And this month's topic is understanding menopause and hormones. We never have enough time to have this conversation because nobody's talking about these things. And this segment, you're going to be talking about diet and hormone health.
I'm going to talk a little bit, yes, diet and hormone health, but also I'm going to add lifestyle in here
Ooh,
because
good.
diet and lifestyle go together. We really do. I sometimes I think, oh, let's separate it, but they really do go together. Because if you're living a healthy lifestyle, you're eating good food, you're eating whole foods. And that really is critical to overall health. So if your overall health is good, your menopausal health will be healthier than if you were eating a lot of crap. And then that's one of the things, foods that, processed foods, they have all of these different additives and
Chemicals.
chemicals, preservatives, all this stuff in them that are, many of them are known as hormone interrupters. And so if they're interrupting the hormones that are already screwed up, we need to make sure that we are eliminating those. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I'm really passionate about that. Why whole foods? Why? Obviously, because natural foods.
Because Denise says so.
Because I said so. Eat real food. Real food gives you the nutrition that your body needs, the protein, the carbs, the fat. Yes, people do need carbs, and all of the micronutrients, vitamins A, B, C, all of those, we need those, and you can get those in your food. Leafy greens, all of those nutrient dense foods, vitamin B, magnesium, all of those. What does magnesium do? Oh, I don't know. What does magnesium do? Oh, it helps with your thyroid hormone. There's another hormone for you, right? Regulates cortisol. Regulates cortisol, manages stress. Too high cortisol, also a challenge with hormones of estrogen and progesterone. So again, all of this goes together. Of course, natural detoxification of your body. If you live on planet Earth, there's something that is, out there, whether it's in the air, whether it's in some of the foods that we're eating, pesticides, those kinds of things. Our body actually detoxifies itself. And you don't really need to go on a big, long detoxification. I'll talk about that another time. Because your body already does that, but it needs to be, we need to help it out, right? We need to eliminate like some of the excess hormones that are in some of the foods that we could be eating, specifically estrogen. We don't want to have extra estrogen, right? So a lot of dairy, where's your dairy coming from? Is it organic? All of those kinds of things. Same thing with chicken. Hormones, no hormones. We want to avoid extra added hormones that we're putting into our body. And then, of course, anti-inflammatory properties of leafy greens. Absolutely essential. Chronic inflammation is one of those things that we know causes many, many diseases and can disrupt your hormone balance. So let's get rid of the inflammation by making sure that we are eating those leafy greens, those really healthy foods, vegetables and foods. Fatty fish. We talk about this all the time. Omega-3 fatty acids, not acids. They support hormone function, helps your brain.
Well, I didn't realize that there's so many, we talk about omega-3 quite often, but I didn't realize that they affected your hormone levels too.
They support hormone production. So if you don't have enough of these, we know hormone production is changing at this stage in our lives. So we need to help it out as much as possible. And so, yeah, adding the omega-3s, and it really is about eating the fatty fish. There are studies that say that, just taking a omega-3 supplement isn't really cutting it. It's better than nothing. But truly, if you're paying attention, you really want to make sure that, you are feeling good through menopause. We do need to add those omega-3 fatty fishes. And I always say salmon because some of the other fish that are high in omegas are kind of icky, like mackerel and sardines. Sorry if you love mackerel or sardines, but it's not my thing. And of course, I mentioned the sugar and the processed foods. They really affect mood swings. And they affect hot flashes. Sorry, I was like, brain fog. Sometimes that happens too with menopause. We haven't talked about that. But occasionally that actually is something that people experience during menopause is that little brain fog thing. And mostly we find, I find sources that say that the brain fog really is because of the amount of processed foods and the amount of sugar people in this country have in their diet. It's really incredibly easy to eat processed foods and avoid, it's easy. We know that, eating real foods, eating whole foods takes a little bit more time, but you really do get the bang for your buck. And so I always say, I encourage the 80-20 rule. I'm starting to get to a phase in life where I'm more like, how about 90-10? We want to have a balanced diet. I'm never going to stop eating donuts and pizza. I don't eat them all the time, but that's my 10%. You know, if I want a donut, when I had a donut, I have a donut. I had a donut a couple of days ago. I was at the airport. They had a Dunkin' Donuts, my favorite, jelly donut. And I can eat that and not feel guilty about it, but also know, right, one donut, but also know that that one donut is not going to send, you know, my hormones completely off the chart.
Lifestyle changes, how we do, what our activity level affects all of this too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Daily exercise, we have got to move. You know, our bodies, like humans were meant to move. When you think, you know, go back to the Serengeti where, you know, people began, they were walking around, they were nomads. They were always moving. Why were they moving? One, because they had to find food. Two, they were trying to keep away from getting eaten by, who knows, tigers, lions, bears. I don't think they have bears there. Tigers, lions, any of those things. Hyenas, that was the other one. So we're meant to move, and we need that. We need that for hormone balance. We need it for mood enhancement. Again, remember, we were talking about the mood swings that low progesterone causes. Well, just going outside and being out in nature, it's a natural hormone booster. It's a natural mood enhancer. And when our mood is uplifted, all of those other hormones start to uplift as well. So, you know, find joy in being outside, dancing, walking, whatever it is. It's snowing right now, so I probably won't go outside today. I've been outside already. But being able to move, like go up and down the stairs, you know, do something in your house to make sure that you're always moving. I'm from New York, so I do this a lot. So I burn a lot of calories just by moving my hands. But obviously, the other thing is the more we move, the more we can maintain our healthy weight, which again, with hormones and menopause, you know, weight gain, it happens, you know, it's just one of those things. Like, yes, there are some women who are in their 50s and 60s who are just in incredible shape. And then there are other women who are struggling with their weight and their mood. Again, everyone's different. Maybe that person who's in, you know, seems to be doing great, you know, maybe they're doing something different, and we need to learn what they're doing. My best friend from college is in the best shape of her life. And, you know, she's not dealing with menobelly. Now, she had other issues at one point, but she's learned how to manage them. And, you know, at this stage in life, you know, she's kind of in a new phase of menopause. So, yeah, daily exercise is important for that hormone balance, also for stress. You know, stress, sleep. The more we move, the more at the end of the night, you know, when it's 10 o'clock, it's time to go to bed. We're tired. So even if our hormones are kind of messing up, you know, are kind of up and down, and it's affecting our sleep patterns, if we're tired because we've exercised and we've done all of this physical activity, your body is going to say, I'm tired, I need to sleep. So that's really, really an important factor also. So all of these, again, I always say all of this is connected. You know, the pillars, I call them the pillars of success with Healthy Living, Happy Life, which is my book and the name of my program. Eat real food, make good decisions, and be accountable. Everything that we're talking about fits into one of those three categories or themes. So eat real food, that's the first. Make good decisions. Part of making a good decision is we need to understand what it is that we're dealing with. And that is doing the research on our own, going to see our doctors, having these conversations. And then the accountability. Absolutely. And then the personal accountability is, now that you've got this information, doing something about it. And I guess the last piece I would add when it comes to lifestyle, not necessarily change, but something that's really important in our lifestyle is community and support. This is such a great place for people to connect with women, connect with other women. You and I have great conversations. Your guests on, our guests on the the second portion of Discovering Rising Tides always have great information to connect women together and for women to go, huh, you know what? That's me. I need to talk to that person. And we're always available. You know, our websites are there, our email addresses, our telephone numbers. So people can always connect with us. And we can then connect them to the people that we think would be most helpful. At Living Healthy List, that's what I do. That's why my business is actually called Living Healthy List, because I may not be the right person to help somebody, right? But I know.
But you have the connections in all the different areas that people are going to need to know about.
Right.
And
so
those
there's that
experts.
community. Yes. And so that's community. So if this is something that you are really looking for, you're struggling, there's a community out there. Connect with Jeanne, connect with me, and you know, we're here to help you in that next phase of your life.
Thank you, Denise. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeanne Gallagher, Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. And we're talking with Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hey, Jeanne.
And we're covering understanding menopause and hormones. And make sure everybody listens to all the segments that are going out on this. And we're going to talk about natural approaches.
Yes. Natural approaches, like so many of us want to be natural. Like we don't want to put stuff in our bodies if we don't have to. I'm always an advocate, you know, natural first, medicine has its place. And I think that's really important to say up front, because sometimes you just need support, you just need help. And whatever works for someone works for someone. But I want them to start with this understanding that there are some natural approaches. So let's start there. Some of the most basic ones, mind-body techniques and sleep. That actually helps, because when we have our estrogen and progesterone, when our hormones are fluctuating so much and both of them are declining, we're not sleeping well. So then we're stressing out, and then that's raising our cortisol, all of these crazy things, like I had mentioned in a couple of the other segments. One thing being off balance just kind of trickles down to some of the other hormones in our body and chemical reactions in our body. So if we're actually paying attention and doing some mind-body techniques, yoga, meditation, deep breathing exercises, this can actually help us calm our body, you know, calm that flight or fight system in our body, so we can sleep, so we can relax. So when we're always in this tense state, it makes hot flashes harder. It actually increases them. One, I think because we're thinking about it, and, you know, kind of law of attraction, if you're thinking about something, it kind of happens. So that's
not what you want to attract.
Right, exactly, not what you want to attract. So I think that's the most basic natural remedy. It's not really a remedy, but it's something that you can incorporate into your healthy lifestyle.
I think before you go any further, I think that's really important, because whenever we're looking to help our health, we're always looking for those more complicated things, and not realizing or remembering that some basic skills we have available to us on a regular basis, and it costs zero.
Absolutely. You're right. We always want to make things more complicated. And because, you know, menopause is a stressful time, you know, we don't know how we're going to feel from day to day, sometimes from minute to minute. And so being able to just step back and breathe into it and regroup changes your mindset. And with a calming mindset, you really can manage this, the change so much with more grace. And so, yeah, that's an easy thing that we can all do. Now, is it going to make them stop? No, but it's going to help you manage the change better, with more grace, and really with more peace, because it can be so stressful. It is stressful, but if we're adding more stress to it, it just makes it worse. So the mindset piece, that breathing piece, just being able to step back and say, okay, calm. And like I said, this is something that you can do at any moment. and it doesn't cost anything. So when I was 37 and I started with perimenopause, I found a woman. It's actually a story I tell why I started Living Healthy List. I had been searching online for anything, any help, but it wasn't, buy my product, take my program. I just needed to talk to somebody because my doctor basically told me, sorry, at your age, it's just a phase, you'll be fine. And it wasn't. I needed help. And so at one point, I came across a website. They were called Women to Women at the time. And I took a survey and what was going on. It asked me questions that the doctor didn't ask me or no one else had ever thought to ask me. And so I sent that survey off. And about 15 minutes later, I got a phone call from a nurse from this company. And again, she asked me a lot of questions. She let me cry. And at that very moment, she had something she could have sold me. Instead, she said, let's track and see what's going on when things are happening so I could have a better understanding of what my body was telling me. And so we did that for 2 weeks. And at the end of it, understanding what was going on, she said to me, I have a product. I would like for you to take it for 3 months and see how you feel. She says, this may be your answer. He said, it may be part of an answer. Let's just see. And because I trusted her, because she was really talking to me and she was working with me, that I said yes right away. I bought my 3-month supply. And I took that medication, or it's an herbal supplement. I took this herbal supplement until probably about 3 or 4 years ago. My hormones started to change again. So, it was time to do something different. But there are so many over-the-counter remedies that people have talked about for hundreds and thousands of years. Eastern medicine, this is what they do. Things like black cohosh, red clover. Now, again, this has been used traditionally in Eastern cultures for menopausal symptoms, though I'm told that many of the women in those cultures don't really suffer from the symptoms that we tend to in the West. And that could be a whole slew of reasons. Diet, they eat a lot more soy in some of those countries, cultures. The challenge with some of this stuff, of course, is it's not regulated. So you don't really know how much of this stuff you're getting. But there are, like this company, they were called Women to Women. Now they're called, I think, Women's Health Network. This is a company that I trust because it's run by a female OBGYN. Her entire practice are women. They've all, at this stage, most of them have, gone through menopause or are going through menopause. So they understand what's happening. And these are herbal remedies that they have, that they've created. They're different ones. This particular one that I've taken is called Herbal Equilibrium. I just told my sister that she should try it for 3 months and see how she feels. So there are lots of things that we can do naturally. Drinking simple things, drinking cool water instead of hot water. Well, if you're already getting hot flashes, why are you adding more hot water? Right? Eating cooler foods. If you're, I love spicy food, but I don't eat the spice the way I used to because it makes me hot. So again, this is a natural remedy, not necessarily herbal, but I guess some, eating real food, there's your herbal, right? That goes back into that food part. So there are companies that are reputable. And I would say to do your research here because there are tons of companies. There are probably thousands of companies. There are probably 10,000s of companies that have a product. But you want to make sure that you find one where you can actually talk to somebody. If they're just going to send you a supplement and that's it, that doesn't really help you.
You need to make sure that it's appropriate for you. And in order to do that, you have to understand you need a baseline. You have to understand where you're at and what needs to be regulated, not just I have hot flashes or I have this or I have that. You really have to understand the whys behind it in order to be able to find the right remedy or treatment that's going to assist.
So glad you said that because I have this great test. It's not my test. Somebody told me about it years ago and I've taken it I took it in 2022, December 22 and December 2023. It's called the Dutch test. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
Okay. So the Dutch test. This is actually my results from the Dutch test that I took in this past December 2023. And what this does is it measures a wide range of hormones. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, cortisol. All of these are hormones that, are in your body that you need to be in a certain, balance. The interesting thing though, too, is it provides insights into when these are high, when these are low. I found out that my cortisol level is high at night. Well, my melatonin should be high at night. So what's going on there? Guess what? I haven't been sleeping. This is I wouldn't have known that had I not taken this test.
And traditional medicine would just want to give you a sleeping pill.
Yes. Now, this is not something from your traditional doctor. I see a naturopath who provides this test. So I take the test. It goes to a lab, a specific lab. For this particular person that I work with, they work with a specific lab. So it goes to the lab, and it takes a few weeks to get back. But I'm shocked when I first took this. I was shocked to see where my levels were, and thought to myself, well, no wonder why I'm not sleeping. No wonder why I'm having night sweats, because my estrogen was literally in the tank, because they measure it like your gas tank. And when I first took it, my estrogen level was postmenopausal. It was 50 years old. Wow. I'm thinking, this can't be right, but it was right. Again, all of these things that nothing is 100%, but this gives you a baseline, like what's kind of happening at that time. Now, I've had this conversation with a medical doctor just recently who says, well, hormones levels fluctuate during the day and, from day to day. I know that, but they're not going to fluctuate from, postmenopausal to, you're 25 again in a short period of time. Yeah, sure. They might fluctuate a little bit, from, I don't know, 10 or 20, however they measure it. If you don't know what's going on in your body, how do you know what to take or how to fix it? And it's, menopause isn't a problem. It's just something that our body goes through that we just have to understand better and manage. And this is a tool to help us do that. What I liked in this one, and I mentioned this a second ago, was it tracked my cortisol patterns. And so, we know cortisol usually, cortisol kind of as you're waking up, cortisol goes up. Can't see me on the picture. It goes up. And then as the day goes, the cortisol goes down, but your melatonin goes up, because melatonin is that sleep hormone. So that helps you to fall asleep. Well, mine was so high and the melatonin so low. How would I have known that? I would not have. But you're right. Somebody would have said, oh, well, take a sleeping pill, or here, try this over-the-counter thing that is, for sleep. Or a melatonin, maybe something to raise my melatonin. And maybe that would have worked. Maybe it wouldn't have. So I think it's really important to understand what's available to people. So with the results of this test, I use something called, it's a bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Now, this is a plant-based hormone. So phytoestrogens, phyto being from plants. So there's nothing synthetic about it. And they're processed from plants, which is good. Those plants are our friend. But it really, to me, it's more than treating symptoms. It really is about transforming your life, becoming, becoming you again. So often menopause just makes women feel like they don't like themselves. They don't like the way they look. They don't like the way they feel. They're unhappy, because all of those hormones are making them, tired or gain weight, low energy, and back to sleep. So it really is about transforming your life. And so the bioidentical that I use is a cream. They also have companies that have a patch I've been told to stay away from that, and I don't remember all of the reasons why. But the other option is a pill or a cream. And so I think there's lots of options. Again, this is something that you need to find the person who's going to help you, who's going to speak with you, who's really looking out for your best interest, rather than just, giving you something because this is what they have, or traditional medicine, which would give you hormone replacement therapy, which is synthetic. This is interesting, and I've just been hearing about this lately. And this is something I've seen a commercial about this, and you may have seen this too, Jeanne. The product is called Veozah, Veozah, and it's actually a drug tailored to diminish the frequency and intensity of hot flashes and night sweats. It's unlike regular hormone therapy, because guess what? It is a phytoestrogen. It's phytoestrogen. It is not. So it's not synthetic. It is made from plants, not necessarily a phytoestrogen, but it is made from plants. Now, why is this important? Because regular hormone therapy has been known to increase the risk of blood cancer, breast cancer, blood clots. Those are two things when you're on HRT, whether you're on birth control or hormone replacement therapy for menopause. Those are two things that they warn you about. There's an increased risk. Now, it's probably not like 100 times or 50 times, but there is an increase. So you need to know about that, right? Same thing with blood clots. If you're on a plane, if you're sitting a lot, I'm on a plane a lot. That's something that I really needed to understand, because the risk. So I know when I'm on a plane, even though I'm taking bioidentical, I know I should probably move around a lot because I was on birth control for a lot of years. And even though I've been off for the last 3, that was that fun thing. I was on birth control hormones until I was 50 years old, and switched over to the bioidentical. Since I've been on the bioidentical, I feel like myself again. And truly, that's what it's all about. It's feeling like yourself. It's loving yourself and living a life that, that you love. I remember when I was young, menopause was like, if you were, you were an old lady. 83 years old. She's not an old lady. She's an older lady. But I don't look at her and say, oh, she's an old lady there, because she's still moving around and she's doing her thing. Yeah, there are some women who, get to that stage and, are old ladies. But I don't know about you, but I'm not going to be that old lady. And this is one way for us to, lots of planning, and it's about longevity. We're living longer. We want to live longer, but we also want to live better, and we want to enjoy those years that we have.
So much to talk about, so much to think about. And Denise, thank you so much for breaking it down into these segments. And if anybody has any questions, reach out to Denise, check out her website. And if she doesn't have the answer, she has experts in all different areas that she can connect you with.
Thanks, Jeanne.
Thank you so much for listening today. Today's show is sponsored by Seaside Solutions, my financial services company. As a business owner, it's easy to be pulled in many different directions, and often taking care of yourself plummets to the bottom of the list. For me, I find myself outside to reground. My time outdoors helps me manage my day more effectively and be more present for my clients. Through this, Discover Rising Tides was born. At Seaside Solutions, we truly believe that education is the foundation of financial wellness. Our primary focus is to provide guidance that is designed to help you achieve your long-term financial goals and visions. Working with a plan allows space for doing more things that you love, like being outside to make the inside better. If I can help you create or realign your plan, or if you would like to be added to my weekly newsletter, please let me know. This week's topic was 5 ways to set more achievable goals. Your referral means the big, beautiful world to me, and if I can help, please let me know. And thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.